Julian and Joey are about to try their first close by themselves today, and the tax credits is the most important part to have complete certainty in while you're explaining the presentation to the homeowner. Now, the way that I do this is I explain it in a specific way every single time to make it make sense and allow them to understand they have options. So, what I tell them, I start out by saying, so number one, you have a federal tax credit of $7,115. And then I look at them. I let that sink in. That's a lot of money, right? And then I'll be like, and you have $2,371 of New Mexico state tax credit. You have around $9,500 in money from the government that they are giving you. This is not a deduction on taxable income, right? Mm-hmm. This is the highest form of tax incentive. It's a 1-to-1 tax credit. If you owe $9,000, now you don't owe $9,000. It's not a deduction on taxable income. Now, the reason that they made this the tax credits is it to incentivize people to go solar, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. Most people are incentivized to go solar by the lowest monthly payment because that allows for the greatest savings. Mm-hmm. However, most people is not everybody. So what the system wanted to allow you to do is have the opportunity to keep that $9,500 of tax credits if you wanted. However, if you choose to keep the tax credits, $9,500 that you can do whatever you want with, after 16 months, which is the grace period of 2 tax cycles, giving you 2 tax cycles to redeem the tax credits and decide what you want to do with it, after 16 months, of grace period, it will go up to $174 per month for the rest of the term. It stays there, it won't go any higher, but that's because you chose to keep the $9,500 in tax credits. Okay? Now the thing is, 80% of my clients are taking the federal tax credits and the New Mexico state tax credits to keep the lowest monthly payment of $105. Does this make sense? Okay, so what this is all predicated around is the fact that they want to allow you guys to use the tax credit to keep the lowest monthly payment possible. But they also want to give you the option to use the tax credit for whatever you want. Okay? Like I'm saying, if you choose to keep that $9,500, it would go up to $174. Keep in mind, because of inflation, in 2 years you're going to be saving money anyways, even if you keep all the tax credits. In 2 years with inflation, you're going to be saving more anyways. It's going to be $174 fixed until it goes to 0 after 25 years, or unless you prepay it off early, right? Now, that all makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. Important part is how you pay your taxes. Let's say you're W-2. Are you W-2 or 1099?
W-2.
Okay, so you know how they withhold your taxes throughout the year? Mm-hmm. And if you've overpaid, they give you a return. If you're underpaid, you owe some. Mm-hmm. Many people have the misconception that just because they get a return means they don't pay taxes. That's not the case at all. They paid taxes throughout the year. They got it withheld through their paycheck. Mm-hmm. However, they withheld too much, and so they're getting a little bit of return. Mm-hmm. Everything under that was their tax liability, right? So they got their taxes withheld throughout the year because they're W-2. And that entire amount is their tax liability, right? So you would be getting $7,115 back from the government in your tax return because you've already paid it. It's already been withheld. And then you would turn around and you would take that tax credit, you would put it towards the system to keep the lowest monthly payment, if that's what you wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're a 1099, just for knowledge, if you're a 1099, you're not getting your taxes withheld throughout the year, right? You owe money at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. This is another extremely valuable benefit of the tax credits. Instead of owing $7,115 at the end of the year, you can wipe that off. And then you could just take the profit that you made from wiping off the taxes that you would have paid anyway and put it towards the system to keep the lowest amount. Or you could be completely cool with keeping the total tax credit, allowing your monthly payment to go up to $174. It stays there fixed forever, until it goes to zero. And within 2 years, you're going to be saving money anyways, right? So the main thing is that they want to give you an option of how you use your tax credits. We have no interest whether you keep it. We have no interest in whether you put it towards the system and keep the lowest monthly payment. It's all up to you. And you have 16 months of grace period to decide what to do with. Now, and this I always suggest when you go through the tax credits, you want to get them to start thinking about how they're going to use it, right? So then what you ask, once you've made it make sense, you've explained it to them, you say, how do you think you're going to use the tax credit? Answer however you like. How do you think you're going to use the tax credit?
You probably put it towards the principal.
Okay, so that's what most people do. They want to see the greatest savings over time. What do you think you do with the tax credit?
I'd probably take it out, go to Italy.
Gotcha. I just had a guy two weeks ago that said, he was like, well, I'm fine with paying a slightly higher fixed bill that's going to be saving me money in a couple years anyway. And I'm going to take my tax credits and I'm putting a down payment on a Range Rover. That's up to him. If he wants to do that, that's something you could do, right? Now, when you are explaining this to the homeowner, what are we doing? We're tying them down.
Throwing them into the future.
If I ask you that question and you're like, honestly, I'm probably going to take a trip to Italy, I got you. Because you're already envisioning what you're doing with the tax credit on something you haven't even signed up for yet. Right? And even if it's the normal situation where you're like, I'm probably just gonna take the money and save it, you're still tying yourself down to the lowest monthly payment.
Right. What's his
right?
payment
So
the tax credits?
with the tax credits, it's 105.
Without them.
Without it, it's 174. Okay? So that is, I don't know how long that took. That's how long it should take to explain the tax credit. The tax credit, not explaining the tax credit properly, is one of, if not the greatest reason that people will cancel. If people are uncertain about the tax credit, they're going to cancel. So I like to spend, and I'll even tell people, most consultants spend the least amount of time talking about the tax credit. I spend the most amount of time talking about the tax credit.
Would you recommend, I'm sorry to cut you off, would you recommend me going to depth about the form, the IRS form to fill out?
Bring up, all you have to do is Google solar tax form. It's form 5695, and you would just show them right here how they would enter the entire cost of the solar system, and they would get 30% back from the Fed and 10% back from the state of New Mexico, right? And then when you get to the end of this, you've explained everything. You can tell that they understand, and the tie down does two things. When you ask them, so after me explaining how this works and how you have options, when I ask you, what do you think you're going to use the tax credit for? Not only am I tying you down on what you're going to do with it, I'm also ascertaining the fact that you understood what I told you. Okay. Because if I asked, what do you think you're going to do with it? And this has happened to me before. If I asked, what do you think you're going to do with the tax credit? And they answer some stupid, irrelevant answer, that means I didn't explain it enough, and I need to go and spend more time in explaining the tax credit, right? So it does two things. Always remember, after you explain the tax credit, always remember to tie them down by asking them what they're going to do with it, and then also by their answer, it's going to tell you whether they understood what you explained. Okay. If they didn't understand what you explained, then all you're going to do is find out what they didn't understand and explain it again and ask them what they're going to do with it. All right. Make sense? Yeah. Okay, beautiful. And then all you do is go right to here, and then this is why we wait to show them the total financed amount and the net system cost after the tax credit instead of before, because it makes a lot more sense that the net system cost is so much lower than the total amount, because we just explained to them and consulted them that they're going to be able to profit this much money. And what I say is, this is how much it would be if the tax credits didn't exist. Luckily, the tax credits that you guys are going to qualify for do exist, and this is what the actual net system cost is, right? So that's what I got. There's tax credit training right here. Put that to use today. You're going to get better and better and better as you go along. Just don't forget how important it is to explain the tax credit. The most amount of cancels come from people not explaining the tax credit correctly. Cool.